On today's show, I'm breaking down why the Texas Rangers should not prioritize Shohei Ohtani this free agency period. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On to the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan covering this team for 10 seasons, including all 5 as the founder and host of Locked On Rangers. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow the show at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform and comment nearly any single thing below. Before we get into today's episode, this show is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50 plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Now, on yesterday's show, I did an entire episode talking about why the Rangers should sign Shohei Ohtani, and then you may be thinking, Bryce, why are you immediately backtracking and saying, no, actually, don't sign him literally a day later? Well, I'm a see both sides kind of guy when it comes to free agency, and I wanted to analyze this from all angles, and I think there's definitely some merit to the Rangers not putting Shohei Ohtani as the number one priority, or maybe even just not trying to sign him at all. Now, I would obviously prefer to have Shohei Ohtani on my favorite team. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think he's very good, but the Rangers do have some other needs that they have on their team, even though they are the reigning World Series champion Texas Rangers. They have a few free agents of their own, and one guy in particular who I think they would very much like to retain is Jordan Montgomery, because the Rangers' top need this offseason is pitching. It was last offseason, and surprise, yet again, here it is this year. It is still pitching. The Rangers need some starting pitching help because at this point, their 2024 rotation looks like this: Nate Eovaldi, Max Scherzer, John Gray, Dane Dunning, and Andrew Heaney. Now, that's a fine top 5 in your rotation, and then you also have Cody Bradford down there ready to hop into the rotation if the Rangers have anybody having to go down with an injury. And also, at some point, hopefully in August, Jacob deGrom will be back on the hill and pitching for the Texas Rangers. But for right now, there's a lot of ifs and a lot of guys with some questionable medical histories. I mean, the Rangers starting pitching, like their innings leader this year was Dane Dunning. He made 26 starts, 35 appearances, 172 and 2/3 innings. They only had one other guy who threw 150 innings. And that was John Gray, who was hurt at the end of the season and had a couple different times where he had to skip starts. He had 157 innings. And then Andrew Heaney was under the 150 inning mark. Nate Eovaldi was 144. Martin Perez at 141 and 2/3. I mean, the Rangers had 9 guys with 6 or more starts this year. Dane Dunning, John Gray, Andrew Heaney, Nate Eovaldi, Martin Perez, Jordan Montgomery, Cody Bradford, Max Scherzer, and of course, Jacob deGrom. That doesn't even count Jake Odorizzi, who the Rangers traded for in the offseason and did not throw a single pitch for the Rangers. The Rangers needed a lot of starting pitching depth to get through the season because their philosophy was, okay, well, if we're going to sign an injured starting pitcher or a starting pitcher with some injury question marks in Jacob deGrom, why not go make it a whole bunch of them so that if several of them get hurt, we will still have several left. And Shohei Ohtani is not going to pitch for the 2024 Texas Rangers or for any team at all in the 2024 season. He had a surgery that is probably Tommy John. There was no definitive statement about exactly what it was, but the general gist of the PR statement put out there when Shohei Ohtani had season-ending surgery on his torn UCL was that he's going to be able to hit, hopefully, by opening day of 2024 and pitch again by opening day of 2025. And the 2024 Rangers cannot afford to sign a guy for maybe $50 million a year, which, again, worth it, but to not be a pitcher. That's a two-way player to not be a pitcher. They just need a lot of starting pitching health. And like all these guys are fine, but what are your odds on Andrew Heaney staying healthy a second consecutive season, even though he was okay in the rotation? Or maybe they have to bring back Martin Perez, or it's probably going to cost a lot of money to retain Jordan Montgomery services because he is going to be very, very in demand this offseason. Maybe probably not the top, definitely not the top starting pitcher on the market. I think that's probably going to be Blake Snell or Aaron Noah. But still, he's going to be way, way up there because of his durability. And that's why I think that he should probably be the Rangers' top free agency concern, is bringing him back. Even though it's going to be very, very expensive, the durability aspect of a starting pitcher for this rotation specific needs. Now, you're hoping that once you get to the playoffs and you have a healthy Scherzer, a healthy Eovaldi, a healthy Jacob deGrom, so you can go on another run like the Rangers just did when they won the whole freaking thing, where they only had 2.5 really good starting pitchers in that run, which it worked. The Rangers won it all, but the Rangers also need some help in their bullpen, and there are quite a few free agents relievers that the Rangers should be prioritizing in this offseason as well. There's plenty of good guys, especially at the top of the market. I think the Rangers are like almost universally being picked to be the favorites to sign Josh Hader, which I think would be okay. My preference would be to sign several cheaper relievers, do kind of what the Rangers did with the starting pitching options around Jacob deGrom. Is okay, go pick up a Heaney for a little bit less than top dollar. Go pick up also an Eovaldi and also make a trade for an Odorizzi. And then later on, they made trades for Montgomery and for Scherzer. But spending top dollar on a two-way player that's only going to be a one-way player for next year, where the Rangers' window of contention is just as wide open as a window has been, when you have other needs, feels almost a little irresponsible, a little bit gluttonous, which, again, maybe be fine. But there's plenty of reasons for the Rangers to not sign Shohei. I mean, as a pitcher, Shohei has not been the most durable guy. I mean, it's an incredible feat of him being a two-way player at all. Let me just get that out of the way. It's absolutely sensational. There's a reason why there are, like, no two-way players, because it's very, very difficult. You have to be just absolutely on top of your game. You have to have everything regimented. You have to know exactly like how to take care of your body in the best way. And even still, it's difficult to stay healthy. In his seasons in Major League Baseball, here's how many innings Shohei Ohtani has pitched each year. Rookie year, 2018, as a 23-year-old, 10 starts, 51 and 2/3 innings. 2019, did not pitch at all. 2020, 2 starts for a combined 1 2/3 innings pitched. Not a whole lot of innings pitched. In 2021, he made 23 starts, had 130 1/3 innings. Pretty solid season. First All-Star season. MVP season. Then, 2022, his best year as a pitcher, 166 innings in 28 starts. Very good season for him that year. Finished second in MVP voting, finished top 5 in Cy Young voting. And then this year, 23 starts, 132 innings pitched. So, in 6 seasons in Major League Baseball, he has made a combined 86 starts for 481 2/3 innings. Now, if my math is mathing, I believe that's about 80 innings per season, which, don't get me wrong, they're pretty spectacular innings when they're happening, but they're not happening all that often. The Rangers have a lot of injury-prone pitchers that are spectacular when healthy and when on the mound. They got 3 of them on the roster right now. They got Max Scherzer, they got Nate Eovaldi, and they've got Jacob deGrom. And at the end of the year, the Rangers only had one of those guys that was actually healthy. Signing durable starters, signing guys who will be consistent and maybe not the most spectacular, and hoping that your spectacular guys are healthy in October. That is what the Rangers need, more than they need Shohei Ohtani. And also, I know he's a two-way player. Coming up, we're going to look at his bat and why the Rangers would be just fine without signing Shohei Ohtani. Right after this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. We spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up on wins and losses, who starts and who sits. I'm thankful for the connection we have. And today, I want to talk our chat to be a little bit more personal. Whether you're on extended travel, bracing for a major weather event, or limited by yet another supply shortage, you are covered, my friend, thanks to our partners at Jase Medical. Life-saving antibiotics and a long list of daily medications can be ordered in a 1-year supply. Go online right now at jasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jase. I'm thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply. I also ordered an antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this to everyone. If you or someone you love would get peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily med, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday, I'll be back with a full offseason preview of what the Rangers should prioritize top to bottom in free agency. Now, let's look at Shohei Ohtani, the hitter. He is an incredibly good hitter, one of the best, if not the best, in Major League Baseball. And he can help literally any lineup. Right now, the Rangers' DH is probably going to be either Ezekiel Duran or Wyatt Langford. And let's not lie, Shohei Ohtani would be a massive upgrade over either. I think both are very good hitters, and both will be factors on the Rangers for years to come. But they're not Shohei Ohtani. But that's okay. This Rangers offense is absolutely incredible. It was the reason they won the World Series. And oh, by the way, they just took home the first ever team Silver Slugger award, as well as Silver Sluggers for Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. Congrats to both of them and to literally all the Texas Rangers, because every single one of them contributed to this award. Well, maybe not a whole lot of offense contributed by Austin Hedges or Sandy Leon, but a team effort from a team offense that is incredibly deep and incredibly talented. This is the best lineup in the American League. I don't think that's in question. I think it will be yet again next year, even if at DH, the Rangers have Wyatt Langford and Ezekiel Duran, as opposed to Mitch Garver. A little bit of a downgrade from both those guys. Or maybe they could bring Mitch Garver back. Maybe that will be where the Rangers spend their money instead of spending it on Shohei Ohtani. Because Ohtani is great, and adding him to this lineup would take this from, one of the best offenses in baseball to one of the best offenses in baseball history. But the Rangers don't really need a whole lot of help on offense right now. I mean, also, if you have Shohei Ohtani as your everyday DH, you lose that DH spot for your guys who are playing very, very often. Trying to get Corey Seager a half day and keep his bat in the lineup and, put Ezekiel Duran at shortstop or Josh Smith at shortstop. You can't really do that with Shohei Ohtani. You want to give Adolis Garcia a day off his feet and put Wyatt Langford out there in right field, or you want to give Evan Carter a half day, or Lily Taveras a half day and keep their bats in there. You can't do that with Shohei Ohtani at DH. Now, it sounds like I'm nitpicking, and these are champagne problems. If you sign Shohei Ohtani, you make it work with not having a DH. But it's just that one extra little thing that it's like, I don't know that the Rangers necessarily need this. Which, you win one championship and it all goes ahead and say, actually the best free agent ever, the Rangers don't need it. But they really don't. They really don't need Shohei Ohtani. This team literally just won it all without having a Shohei Ohtani. And now, of course, he'd be helpful in the mix, but it also ties up your finances quite a bit. They push the Rangers well over the luxury tax, which I think the Rangers are definitely willing to do for Shohei or for the right free agents, which I think the Rangers have many free agent targets in mind. And I think Shohei is probably at the top of their list, but I don't know that he should be the end-all, be-all priority. Like I said, the Rangers need a lot of pitching help. They need some more depth from their starters. They need starters with a track record of being healthy, and even the ones with a track record of being healthy. You never know if they throw one pitch wrong in a bullpen, and boom, it's Tommy John, and they're out for 18 months. It happens because pitchers are fickle, fragile creatures, and even the best ones, even the biggest and most durable ones with the healthiest UCLs, sometimes those snap too, or tear, or whatever UCLs do when they get hurt, whatever that is. And there has not been a lot of consistency, like I said, as the starting pitcher for Shohei. And If you're just adding a generational bat, which is great, it's just, again, it's a luxury item. It's like, I don't know, it's like buying a car that's too fancy that you don't necessarily need. It's fine, it's fun, it's pricey, but again, there's a difference between a luxury and a necessity. And so far, the Rangers have been very big spenders in their history, in their recent history, I should say, in spending big on free agents. But that's because they needed those stars at those positions. They did not have guys like that in the system, or guys like that were going to be ready on anywhere near the timeline that Rangers ownership wanted to compete, which was right freaking now. Or I guess 2 years later from 2021, which mission accomplished. Hats tip to them for seeing a window opening much faster than the rest of us did. But there was not a whole lot else around there in those areas when the Rangers spent big on those free agents. I mean, there really haven't been that many big free agents on this Rangers team. There's basically 3 big old contracts. There's Corey Seager, there's Marcus Semien, and there's Jacob deGrom. Outside of that, that's just 3 guys. 2 that you got in the same year. 1 that hasn't quite worked out yet. You hope that eventually it does work out a little bit more than 6 very fun starts this year. That's what you're hoping for from Jacob deGrom. But you've already gotten your money's worth in Semien and Seager. And again, this offense is so deep and so talented, and you want to make room for guys like Wyatt Langford. Of the rookies who have not made their major league debut yet, Wyatt Langford is projected to have, I believe it was a 120 weighted runs created plus. Maybe it's 113. It was Foolish Bailey on Twitter who was tweeting that out about the guys who have not made their major league debut yet, of how high their WRC plus is supposed to be next year. And like I said, he's going to be incredible. And I think you have to make room for him because he's so good. There it is. Top steamer projections. This is from Foolish Baseball on Twitter. Top steamer weighted runs created plus projections from hitters yet to make their major league debut. This is the projection from Fangraphs. And next year it has at the top of this list, Wyatt Langford at 121 WRC plus. 121. That is projecting a rookie to be 21% better than the average major leaguer, which is just absolutely nuts of how good it thinks that he's going to be. That's, for some context, 121 is just a little bit below what Marcus Semien did this year. Marcus Semien was at 124. So was Adolis Garcia. They're projecting that from rookie year, Wyatt Langford. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And oh, by the way, he's probably going to be relegated to DH because in the rest of the outfield, the Rangers have Evan Carter, who has already been sensational in his short time in the major leagues. They also have Leody Taveras, who has been very, very good despite people's best efforts to trade him. And they also have Adolis Garcia, the ALCS MVP, the 2-time All-Star, the Gold Glover, the somehow not a Silver Slugger this year, which I don't even understand in the slightest, but it's fine because he got the ring and he got the ALCS MVP and he was an absolute monster on the biggest stage. And he's proved that he's not just some flash in the pan. He is very freaking good. And the Rangers don't really need Shohei Ohtani's bat in this offense. It's going to be even better next year, no matter who they have at DH, whether it's Wyatt Langford, whether they do end up trading off Leody Taveras for starting pitching to get some of that healthy starting pitching depth that they need, and they put Evan Carter in center field and Wyatt Langford in left, and you have an outfield of Langford, Carter, and Garcia, and then you bring back Garver as DH, or maybe Zeke Duran as your DH. It's just, there's a whole lot of bats that are already there, that are already really good, and unless the Rangers have a big old rash of injuries from position players next year, which I'm really not hoping and not expecting, even if they do, they've got the depth to weather that storm. And tying up a whole lot of resources and capital and interest and all of that in the Shohei show, I don't know that it's necessarily worth it for the Texas Rangers. Would it be fun? Sure. Necessary? I'm not entirely thinking so. Coming up, we're going to look a little bit more about what the Rangers should prioritize instead, who some starting pitching options could be, and where I think Shohei Ohtani might end up going. Right after this word from our sponsors. Shout out to the everydayers picking Locked On Rangers, your first listen every single day. Next week, I'll have Grant Schiller on to look at the minor league season in review, what the prospects did this year, and how the farm system is looking at this point. Now, I think that Shohei Ohtani would be a great addition to the Texas Rangers. But again, like I said, I don't think it's entirely necessary. A team that I think that he probably will definitely be in consideration right now, and definitely a team that I think there's a couple of teams that I think will be obviously top of his list. I think the Rangers will be up there. I think the Cubs will be up there. I think the Dodgers will be up there, and the Giants. I think that's a spot that makes a whole lot of sense for him. The Giants are a team that last year they were very much constructed to have a star. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Rangers model of a bunch of homegrown players that are pretty good, not quite, 5-war, 6-war players, but a lot of really solid talent all the way around, but no real stars. And a good pitching staff. They did a much better job of developing, Logan Webb and, reviving several other pitchers to have very good seasons in Alex Cobb. Desclafani was okay for a little while. Alex Wood was solid for a while. Stripling had his moments. They had decent outings from several guys around there. Not as great as they were in years past, but their offense was really lacking last year. After 2021 having one of the greatest offenses we've seen in decades, the 2021 Giants were sensational. Just absolutely sensational. Shout out to Donnie Ecker, who is now with the Texas Rangers, helping them have an incredible offense. But there's just not a lot of big boppers in that lineup. There was, Wilmer Flores had an OPS over 800, and of the other regulars that played over 100 games, there's nobody else that had an OPS over 800. Whereas Texas Rangers had, how many guys with OPS over 800? It was more earlier on in the season. They had Semien, Seager, they had Adolis Garcia, Mitch Garver as well. If you looked at the halfway point of the season, literally everybody had an OPS over 800. Unfortunately, second half, not quite as favorable for the Texas Rangers. It's fine. They ended up with a pretty solid overall offense. But I think San Francisco is a place that was just built to have one more star, and they didn't get it. Twice they whiffed on that last year with the Carlos Correa bugaboo with his ankle, with the Arson Judge, so close to getting old Aaron Judge, and shout out John Heyman's typo forever, that will forever live in our minds about him. Temporarily, we all thought for about 5 minutes that Aaron Judge was going to the San Francisco Giants. That was not the case. This is a team that's very aggressive. They just fired their manager, Gabe Kapler, who was, I thought, fine. I thought he was a fine manager, and I thought he fit very well with what they were doing. They brought in Bob Melvin, and they are in a division that everybody is going for it. And 4 of the teams in that division have been successfully going for it for several years. And then also the Rockies are going for it in their own special, unique way. And meanwhile, the team that everyone thought of as the 4th tier at the beginning of the year in that division, the clear 4th team, were the Arizona Diamondbacks, who just went to the World Series. And then you have the Dodgers, perennial contenders, and you also have the Padres, perennial spenders, and home to a lot of very good baseball players. The Giants want to get their edge. They want to get their star, and I think that Shohei makes a lot of sense there. Obviously, the Cubs are in a similar situation, except in terms of going for it and firing their manager that I thought was fine, but they're doing it in a much more winnable division. They also have fellow countrymen and fellow, I believe, both of them were WBC participants. I can't remember about Seiya Suzuki playing for Japan and the WBC, but I know that they know each other. I know that they're friends, and that would be helpful on the Chicago Cubs. I think both of those two destinations, if it's not the Texas Rangers, I think those two are more likely than the Dodgers. It just feels like too much of a big time show, to be all about Shohei with the Dodgers like it would be. I don't think there's any chance he goes to the Yankees, and I think the Mets, that spotlight being on him, being in that big of a media market. I know Anaheim, LA is still a very large media market, but I think somewhere with, less media, less spotlight that can let him just kind of chill, do his thing, being amazing at baseball. I think that all is something that will be a factor in where Shohei signs. So, I mean, the Rangers have a lot of priorities this offseason of who they should sign. Shohei would be fun, but let's not forget the bullpen. The Rangers are going to have to spend some money on this bullpen. Now, maybe they go and get Josh Hader and spend a lot of money on him. I am one that doesn't love spending big money on any closer. He's projected to get market value, according to Spotrac, is $17.5 million per year for Josh Hader, which would probably be a 5-year deal-ish, which would be a lot of money for a closer that doesn't really ever pitch multiple innings and has had some makeup concerns in the past. But either way, the Rangers need to spend on more guys in their bullpen. The guys who they threw in their bullpen this year. I mean, the two guys who threw the most innings for the Rangers this year in the bullpen were Will Smith and Brock Burke, with an ERA of 4.4 and 4.37, respectively. And then Jose Leclerc, who is going to be their closer next year if they don't sign Hader or someone of that ilk. I think even if they sign Hader, it might still be Leclerc as the closer. I'm not entirely sure. They might go bullpen by committee. Then you have Josh Boers and the Josh Boers experience, which was incredible in the postseason and incredible at moments, but also less than incredible at other moments. You have John Hernandez, who I am still a believer in, but can definitely have some messing outings as well. And then who else is left? I mean, Yeri Rodriguez is a possible option. I don't feel super great about that. There's not a whole lot of other options that are still here. Brock Burke, we'll see if he can figure out what the heck went wrong with him this year. I still have no idea what went from him, what changed from him being a sub-2 ERA reliever ace last year that can go multiple innings in whatever spot you need him and just be absolutely nails, to him having an ERA of 4.37 and being basically unusable in the playoffs. I don't know what switched. Maybe next year he'll be back to good Brock Burke as opposed to bad Brock Burke. I don't know. But the Rangers have some questions in that bullpen. They have some questions in their rotation. And this is a team that is coming off a World Series win. And they just need to keep that vibe, that core together. I think prioritizing Jordan Montgomery over Shohei Ohtani, if you had told me that was going to be the move like 6 months ago, I would have lost my freaking mind. But a lot of things change in 6 months. Jordan Montgomery is a World Series hero for the Texas Rangers for all time. No matter where he signs, no matter how much he signs for, he is going to have that in his bag for all time. And hopefully, unless he signs with like the Astros, which the Astros are crying poor already, and not signing a bunch of big money free agents. So I don't see that happening. But even if he did, for all time, Jordan Montgomery is a hero for the Texas Rangers and a durable workhorse that the Rangers should definitely prioritize. I mean, there are a lot of durable pitchers on this starting pitching market, including other guys like Eduardo Rodriguez. I really like, not necessarily the definition of durable, but guys like Aaron Noah. Aaron Noah is very, very durable. He's had some bad starts, but he is a guy who's incredibly consistent, just does not get hurt, just takes the ball every fifth game and goes to work. Sonny Gray, I think, would be a great addition to this Rangers team. Blake Snell would be okay. Again, those durability concerns and the lack of pitching deep into games. He is like a significantly better version of Andrew Heaney. Guys who, just nibble around the zone way too much, aren't able to go very deep into games. But again, Blake Snell's stuff is like if Andrew Heaney's stuff was incredible. He's just a much, much better pitcher overall. So, again, not to poo-poo the signing of Shohei Ohtani, I just did an entire episode yesterday about how much I would very much like him to be on the Texas Rangers. But this is me, dosing myself with a little bit of copium, and we'll go back and listen to this or watch this or however you consume these podcasts if the Rangers don't sign Ohtani and be like, okay, this is why it's okay. This is why it's fine. And the main reason why it's fine is that the Texas Rangers are reigning World Series champs. And no matter what they do this offseason, they will still be that for another year, maybe another several years, depending on what they do this offseason. But I'm in the camp of trust Chris Young. Trust Chris Young in this front office. They have not made basically a single wrong step. They've made a few minor wrong-ish steps in the last couple of years, but I mean, they're all very minimal. and the Rangers have a freaking ring. So it's hard to nitpick and worry about what free agents they did or didn't sign, or I guess just didn't sign these past couple years, because the ones that they did have been downright exceptional. So, moral of the story is, if Chris Young says, I think we have some other needs we need to prioritize over Shohei Ohtani, or Shohei Ohtani just goes somewhere else, the Texas Rangers will be just fine, because they are, indeed, still reigning World Series champions. That's going to do it for this week's shows. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing and still living off that nostalgia high that we will for the rest of our lives of the Rangers being World Series champions. Thank y'all so much, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.